Hello everybody, it's me, WalterTheGermanyBall, and I'm here with Console Conversations. We're back after not having an episode since the holiday special, and before that we hadn't had one since mid-October, and the holiday special was kind of lackluster. We talked about an interesting subject, but we filmed it in one day, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had a brand new camera that I'm using, and I didn't know how to operate it very well, so it looked weird, it sounded weird, and I'd like to apologize for that. But now we're back to a typical format here, and I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest pieces of gaming news out there right now. This is a huge, huge deal. I have to talk about this before it becomes, just another piece of news, left to the dust. But, right now, this is a big deal, and everyone's talking about it, so I'd like to weigh in. I've talked about what I think of it on my Discord and on Twitter and stuff, but I have not done a video about it, which I should definitely do. And just before you ask, in case you actually cared, this will be replacing the Jack X Combat Racing review until further notice. I'll upload that video eventually, I guess, if I feel like it, when there's a point where I don't have that many videos to release, or if people are like, hey, where is it at? If people really want to see that video, then I'll put it out, but I don't think people really want to see that video, and I'm not going to work super hard to finish it on time to put it out today if no one's going to care. So instead, I'm going to talk in depth about this. Microsoft to acquire Activision Blizzard to bring the joy and community of gaming to everyone across every device. They spelled gaming wrong, but whatever. Microsoft. This is an article from Microsoft. That was a joke, by the way. I know they spelled gaming correctly. It's a joke. You don't correct me in the comments. This is from Microsoft, so obviously this is a bit biased. But this is what happened. They acquired Activision Blizzard. So let's see we're going to see how Microsoft describes this. Then we're going to take a look at what it means over here, an article from Polygon. And from my experience, Polygon is a pretty reliable source. So we're going to be taking a look at them. They're going to talk about what is it that they now own due to this acquisition. I'm then going to weigh in on my opinion, and then we got another article here that we'll talk about as well. So let's get started. Legendary games, immersive interactive entertainment, and publishing expertise accelerate growth in Microsoft's gaming business across mobile, PC, console, and cloud. So as you can see here, this is the little graphic that they put out. They did the same thing when they acquired Bethesda, I'm sure. So, yes, Activision Blizzard and King. Now, if you don't know King, they made Candy Crush right here. I think that's the only thing that they've ever made. It's just mobile games. So, mobile developer, basically developer of, huge, multiplayer games, and then, the big Activision part. So we got Overwatch. That's made by Blizzard, I'm pretty sure. Call of Duty, Diablo, World of Warcraft, Candy Crush, and StarCraft. Now, yeah, all of these are owned by Xbox, by Microsoft. With 3 billion people actively playing games today, I did not actually know it was that many people. Blah, 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 announced the plans to acquire Activision Blizzard, a leader in game developer and interactive entertainment content publisher. This acquisition will accelerate the growth in Microsoft's gaming business across blah, blah, blah. So, in an all-cash transaction valued at $68.7 billion. Now, if you don't know, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Huge. Almost $70 billion. That's insanity. The company has studios around the world with nearly 10,000 employees. Although 8,000 of them got laid off a few years ago. But we don't talk about that. So, yeah, this is from Microsoft, so definitely a bit biased. Of course, you immediately have the bias here. Bring the joy and community of gaming to everyone. Yeah, gaming is epic, but is Activision really going to bring that to people? I'm really trying not to just go off and start saying my opinion yet, because we got to really dig in and look at what's going on first. For more than 30 years, our incredibly talented teams have created some of the most successful games, said Bobby Kotick. I think that's the one who laid everyone off. I think it's still the same guy, CEO of Activision Blizzard. The combination of Activision Blizzard's world-class talent and extraordinary franchises with Microsoft's technology, distribution, access to talent, ambitious vision, and shared commitment to gaming and inclusion will help ensure our continued success in an increasingly competitive industry. Yeah. Now let's take a look over here at Polygon, who's probably way less biased. Here's everything Microsoft owns after the Activision Blizzard deal. Now, this article doesn't, list everything just flat out, but it does give a good rundown and explanation of what exactly is going on. And then we'll get into my opinion. So, it's a big acquisition, as you can see. Doesn't give the maker of Xbox and the home of Halo control of everything significant in console gaming. Sony still stands apart with its strong stable of PlayStation exclusives. Keep that in mind for later. Keep this sentence in mind for later. While Electronic Arts, Take-Two, and Ubisoft continue to jockey for position across all platforms. They acquired Mojang for $2.5 billion, and in 2020 they acquired Bethesda. Yeah. So, of course, they have Halo and Gears of War and Minecraft. Those are the big things, but, Minecraft, that's on everything because they, Anyway, then they have these other ones, Hellblade, State of Decay, Wasteland, Double Fine, and Obsidian's adventures. So these are all of their other franchises that are, kind of important, kind of famous, I guess. And then here we get into Bethesda's stuff, Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, Wolfenstein, Doom. Now, we have what they're getting from this acquisition. Call of Duty, Diablo, Overwatch, Warcraft, plus much, much more. And that's not all. Activision's back catalog includes the remasters Spyro Reignited Trilogy, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, and Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, as well as the franchises preceding them. With remakes of GoldenEye 007, Transformers, Spider-Man, and the Cabela's Outdoor series. I don't think they can do Spider-Man because, Guitar Hero and Skylanders, which the company shut down in recent years, are still there if the music, gaming, or Toys to Life genre respectively ever make a comeback, and hell, Pitfall, the first blockbuster video game IP developed specifically for consoles, is an Activision product. So, before you say anything, we gotta take a look at this too. Call of Duty will not be going Xbox exclusive anytime soon, says Phil Spencer. Okay, now we understand, okay? So that's what's going on, right? Well, what do I think? That's the big thing we gotta talk about. Personally, I think this is one of the worst decisions ever, and it will hurt the industry massively. Now, here's why. It's for a few different reasons. One, Microsoft doesn't need to buy everything. It's hurting the industry for many reasons, but the first and one of the largest reasons is just because Microsoft keeps buying everybody. And that's really bad. They're basically trying to create some sort of de facto monopoly sort of thing, kind of like Amazon and Disney are trying to do. Amazon's already succeeded. And that's not good, because we need multiple companies to, offer games. Obviously Sony and Nintendo, and I'll get into that as well, they're not that hurt by this, but it is concerning to see what they're trying to do. They tried to buy Nintendo when they first got into the games industry, for God's sake. Now, of course, the companies have to agree to be bought, so I personally don't think Sony or Nintendo will ever let themselves be bought by Microsoft, and I think that's because they know that at that point, and this is my second point, is that they'd basically be dead in the water. But we need multiple companies, they need to keep each other in check, they need to be able to offer different things and different experiences. So, if you like Microsoft the most, I think I disagree, but you can like them. I don't care. If you can like the Atari VCS for all I care, and I still won't judge you. But if you claim that it's the best console objectively and has the most to offer, then I'm definitely going to disagree with you, because in my opinion, that's the PlayStation 5, or even the Nintendo Switch, probably. Both of those are way better, in my opinion, objectively, and personally as well. But if you prefer Microsoft, like, I don't care, but you have to admit this is a very concerning move. Not because it's threatening to Sony and Nintendo, and I'll get into that as well, but just because it's trying to create a monopoly. And the other problem is that when they do buy these companies, what happens? What happened when they bought Rare? Has Rare made anything worth a damn since the acquisition? No. Don't even try. You're out here, oh, what about Perfect Dark Zero, WalterTheGermanyBall? No. That game isn't real. It never happened. It's an insult to Perfect Dark, which is one of my favorite N64 games ever. Rare died. Rare literally got game ended by Microsoft because they got bought by them. And it was pathetic because Rare made some of the greatest Super Nintendo and N64 games. If they hadn't been bought by Microsoft, let's say they were bought by Nintendo instead, we would have like 20 games, 20 classic games made throughout the years by them, I'm sure. Instead, we have Cameo, whatever, and trash Connect games, and Everwild, which is like, who even remembers that game? It's supposed to come out this year or something, or 2024 or something. Does anyone care about it? No. No one cares about Everwild. People care more about Sifu, which is, I think, being made by brand new developers for PlayStation 5, and is like this weird, like, niche sort of game about martial arts, and I actually think it looks really cool. People care more about Sifu than Everwild, which is being made by one of the most acclaimed developers of all time. Think about that. That is what Microsoft has done to this industry, and they did that with Mojang as well. I mean, maybe Mojang never would have made Minecraft 2 or something, but now they're just riding the cash cow that is the original Minecraft and haven't, like, actually created something else. They just have this one game that they're just riding till the end of time. And it seems like they'll never make another game. They'll just keep updating it, which is fine, but it's like, if you're not going to make a new game that's going to really innovate things, then what's even the point of existing as a developer? I mean, yes, updating a game is fine, but eventually that game's going to go out of date, and you need to create something brand new that is going to push the industry forward once again. Microsoft also just doesn't understand how to get games competently made. Crackdown 3, remember that trash fire? Yeah, Microsoft hasn't made a competent experience in years. Halo Infinite, okay, yeah, that's one game, and apparently they up like $100 million or something on it. I don't know, that might not be true, but it has been rumored and heavily implied that they spent a ton of money on it. And I've heard that the story is not good, and the gameplay is just alright. Like, maybe it's a great game and all, but it's not like this thing that's going to push the industry forward. It is not something worth investing hundreds of millions of dollars into, or having be your only game. Let me put it this way. If in 2020, Sony released not a single game other than The Last of Us 2... yeah, I'd be like, okay, there's only one game, that's kind of lame. But the game was so innovative and so goddamn amazing that I wouldn't have had that much of a problem with it. Halo Infinite is, like, it's supposed to be really good, but it's not innovative. That's the problem. If you're going to invest a bunch of money and a bunch of time into making something that is your big system seller, it can't just be this simple little Halo sequel that's not going to change much. Yeah, grapple hook is cool, but guess how many other games had a grapple hook? I mean, Uncharted 4 did that 6 years ago, and that was by Naughty Dog, who also made Last of Us 2, so, you know. So Microsoft doesn't know how to competently help games get out the door, and they oftentimes just kill the momentum of any developers that they buy. Like, if you take a look at Bethesda, what have they made? They have made nothing. They've made nothing for Xbox. And, okay, it might be a little early. They're working on Redfall, which looks okay, but we only got a cinematic trailer for that. Another thing that I really hate about Microsoft is they give us cinematic trailers, then years go by, everyone forgets that their games even exist, and then we get them and no one cares because they didn't care. And that is a really big problem. Sony gives lots of advertising time to a lot of their games. Like, they do a better job of that than Microsoft or even Nintendo most of the time. They advertise all of their games pretty equally. Deathloop came out. That was by a Bethesda studio, and guess what? It was a timed PlayStation exclusive that I'm sure they were working on as a PlayStation timed exclusive before the acquisition. So the only, amazing Bethesda game to come out since that acquisition was a PlayStation exclusive. Think about that for a second. Let that sink in. So I think this is a terrible decision. They think they can just buy out studios and then, that's it. Well, not even studios, publishers. Sony does a very different approach, and I think this approach is far better. They will work with a developer team for years, have them develop exclusive games for them, build up trust, learn that these people can make amazing games, then they buy them, and they don't ever buy huge companies to build a monopoly. Think about it this way. Insomniac created Spyro for them. They created Ratchet & Clank, which is still going strong, Spider-Man, Resistance, all of those big budget PlayStation exclusives that were all critically acclaimed pretty much, and they weren't even owned by Sony. But they worked that closely with them and were able to put out that many great games. Goes to show that you don't have to buy everyone, but then Sony felt like it was the right decision to buy Insomniac because they were such an integral part of their development team and they wanted to just have them as a part of the company, so they bought them in 2019. And since then, they've made Miles Morales, which is one of my favorite games of all time, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, an absolute masterpiece, and a great remaster of the first Spider-Man game on PS4. 3 games since that acquisition. I mean, one of them's a remaster, but still, and they were all amazing. And they all showed off the tech well, they all showed off their development skills well, they were all big budget, they were all advertised by Sony and did really well as a result. Sony builds trust with their developers, works with them, and then buys them once they know for sure this is a talented development team who can bring something to the table. And we move on to, one of my final points. Activision sucks. Activision is already terrible. I just spent however long talking about how much Microsoft is awful. They're acquiring Activision, another awful company. It's like if, I don't know, Time Warner Cable bought those terrible answering machines that don't let you talk to a human being. Two of the worst things. One of them buys the other one. It's okay, and I'm supposed to love Microsoft now? Microsoft and Xbox fans are all like, oh my god, Sony fans must be crying now because they're not going to be able to play Call of Duty. Well, Call of Duty is actually not going to be an exclusive. And second off, do we really want to? Because I've heard that Call of Duty, the last many games, have been absolutely atrocious. And personally, I don't even care because they're just the same unoriginal thing year after year. It's like if they bought Ubisoft. No, it literally is the exact same as if they were to buy Ubisoft because Ubisoft doesn't have anything I care about. They have these stupid annual franchises that I'm sure Xbox fans don't even like. But now that they're exclusive, they're like, oh my god, it's so good. Even though they're games that are notoriously not that good and unoriginal and recycled every single year. And then they have Rayman, the one thing I care about. In this case, Crash and Spyro. Yep, Crash and Spyro are now owned by Microsoft. Which is just, that's just depressing, man. Because now, it's definitely certain we're not going to be getting a good Spyro or Crash game anytime soon. Activision was already super incompetent with both of these franchises, and after the original trilogies were finished up, they would just hand them out to developers who didn't know what the hell they were doing. Now, we got Crash Twinsanity, which was a good game. I mean, I've only played a bit of it, but it's pretty good. And that's pretty much it. Since then, I don't think we've gotten much good from either franchise. The remasters are good, and then Crash 4 I really didn't like. I just felt it was poorly designed and too bare bones and required so much repetitive stuff. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But Crash and Spyro, I don't think they're in good hands with Activision, because Activision is a terrible company with how they treat their employees, how they don't deal with these sexual harassment claims. That is probably not going to change much under Microsoft, because Microsoft doesn't care about actually putting out good games or actually changing how these companies function. They just care about building a monopoly and then getting people to go, oh my god, you own Activision? Well, I'm gonna, hand you all my money blindly now, and then they have more money. That is their strategy, and you shouldn't fall for it. And, I'm sure any person who watches this who's an Xbox fan will just be in the comments going, but about Game Pass. Listen, buddy, Game Pass is a cool service, and I will not ever change my mind on that. Well, unless they change it massively. It's a great idea, and it offers so many good games for such a low price. But those games are equally as available on PlayStation. So why would I spend a bunch of money to buy an Xbox console so I can play those games for cheaper, when I could probably buy them on PlayStation for a little bit more, but also access all these exclusive PlayStation games that Xbox isn't even near? And I could also just access Game Pass on PC, which is, I think, equally just as robust. So it wouldn't even matter if I were to buy one of the consoles. That's another reason. They put all their stuff on PC, which is fine, and I get that strategy, but it does take a lot away from the console. Sony waits to put their stuff on PC, which I think it makes sense. It eventually then it gets people to come along and say, oh yeah, I will play that because now it's on PC. But then they're like, well, I know that it's going to take years and years for example, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West to come to PC, and I played the original Horizon and God of War on the PC and loved them, so I'm going to get a PS5 so I can play the sequels early. That is their strategy, and that actually makes sense. Microsoft puts literally every single game of theirs, literally every single one, on PC day one, and usually on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass on PC, boom, you're done, and you don't have to buy one of their stupid consoles. Now, I don't hate Microsoft completely. I use a lot of their products. I'm using their products right now to make this video, to edit this video. My computer is running on Windows. But that's the problem, is we're kind of forced into this, It's not like we have that many other options. But I do think in terms of gaming, we do have other options. Sony and Nintendo are both way better, in my opinion, and I don't think this changes much. So that is my opinion, and I just gave you all the reasons for that. Now, if you disagree, go ahead, tell me why. I'll talk about it with you in the comments. Now, of course, there's the potential for them to make good games with this, but I don't see it. History seems to be repeating itself over and over with Microsoft, and Microsoft seems that they just don't want to break that cycle. They don't want to break the loop, of buying publishers and then just not letting them do what they want and not having them make good stuff. Now, of course, with Activision, you might not want to let them do what they want because apparently that is touching people inappropriately. But making good games is what they should allow these companies to do, and it seems like they don't do that. They favor money over making good games, and that's just not a good idea. And it seems like, how are they even making that much money off of this if they can't manage to make a good game? It's incompetency and greediness combined in the worst possible ways. That's what I think it is. Of course, this is not all negative. There might be good games that come out of this, maybe, but I doubt it. And I think this is a terrible decision. I really don't care, honestly. And yeah, that's my 2 cents on this whole situation. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Be safe, everybody, and goodbye.